Hey folks, this is Mike here with a NoScript video on GT Sport. This is the new format of videos I'll be doing moving forward, since as some of you may realize, I've pretty much wiped my history on the channel. Kept a couple key ones that both me and Nick worked on, but anyways. Yeah, the whole idea of these videos is to launch a game, talk about it, completely unscripted, one take kind of deal, and from start to end, say whatever comes to mind, and kind of cut the video whenever I feel like I've talked about everything. So this could be a 5-minute thing, or in the case of Gran Turismo, I feel like I've got a lot of stuff. This may end up lasting half an hour or so. So before we get too deep, a couple quick things to mention here. I can't capture 1080p 60 frames, so you guys are stuck with 720. Otherwise at 1080 to have to drop it to 30 frames a second, which not ideal. At the same time, my racing's probably not going to be very great either. I don't have any game audio with the way I'm recording stuff right now, so slightly too lazy to get the audio routing set up to actually make it work. But we'll manage. It'll be fine. So yeah, I guess first thing right off the hop, who is Gran Turismo Sport for? Because obviously it's not the same as the other Gran Turismos, right? Or else they would have... Wow, that was bad. Let's pretend that didn't happen, restart that. Yeah, who is it for? Because obviously they didn't call it Gran Turismo 7. And they've kind of been out and talked about it as well, saying it's a bit of a different thing. At least back when they first started talking about this game, they did say, listen, Gran Turismo 7 will happen later on, but GT Sport is what they're doing right now. And in some ways, some people might were initially thinking, maybe this is a GT prologue, and kind of is in some ways. But in other ways, I can see where they're going with this, and it makes the recommendations for this game really, really simple. If you like Gran Turismo and you want, well heck, if you want some more structured multiplayer kind of thing, this is it, right? If you want vaguely like iRacing for consoles, not quite it, but in the sense that there's leagues, seasons, championships, they penalize bad driving, you matchmake against players with similar driving records to you, in the sense that clean racers will matchmake together. People who tend to crash a lot and just do bad things in general will also matchmake with each other. That's the focus of this game. It's very much a multiplayer game. So if that's what you're looking for, guess what? This is probably the best example on PS4 that you're going to get. It's without a doubt the better racing sim in terms of just simulation levels on PS4 I'm talking about, to be fair. And in terms of structure and organization, I don't think any other game has attempted to do quite what GT's doing. And the best way to kind of get that point across is say, look, the FIA are involved with this. Like, that's not just something you pull out of the bag and say, oh yeah, the FIA partnered with us. No, like, Gran Turismo is an established name. They've shown plenty of times that they're not just about making games. They actually race their GTR in 24 hours and so on. Like, they do a lot of fantastic work. So yeah, it's an interesting concept. In some ways, it's not quite for me, mostly because I like the seasonal events. I like that kind of multiplayer where it was just time trials and leaderboards. I don't have particularly great internet, so racing games for me tended to play really poorly. However, GT Sport actually, at least in the beta, which is where I play the most multiplayer, it actually ran pretty well. I didn't have nearly as many lag issues as I tend to have with racing games, so that was really good. Also, as a side note, you may notice that there's no background music. I have to disable it. I actually did do one of these videos uploaded it and then realized, oh shit, I'm gonna get nailed. Of course I did. Before I even had a chance to publish the video, I was already getting nailed with copyright crap with music, so hopefully this video survives with that. Actually, before we jump in here, so I've talked about the multiplayer, right? If we actually go to sport, which is different than the multiplayer lobby, we'll do race entry, kind of get an idea here. You know, here's your daily mix of races. Usually they're not all open at the same time. Usually you hop from one to another, depending on their open, but here's the Nations Cup, here's the schedule. These are all test seasons, so they happen really, really quickly. But you can get an idea of like what the tracks, the categories, and all that stuff is. Point rankings, all sorts of rankings and stuff for different drivers. Let's see, profile. Get an idea of how some of these players go. I find the week and the month ones interesting because they don't actually work, so go figure. Yeah, you can look at players and all their content and all their stuff, which is super cool. Like the fact that I could look at the gallery of pictures, the car liveries, decals. They made some replays. There's a lot of really, really cool things that they've done for that. So, in many ways, they've taken a kind of a page out of Forza and made the community aspect in this game. Well, they've made a community in this game, which is something the older games really didn't have. So, we'll look at some more of that. But here's what I talked about earlier for single player stuff. Like, these are kind of your classic events. This was not in the game at launch. This was patched in maybe a month ago, sometime in December, I believe. Before that, you just had your typical licenses. Beginner, intermediate. This is kind of curious as well, right? Beginner, intermediate, no expert, no higher level licenses. Will there be more of these? Maybe. Because they've clearly done a change here. I know a lot of people on my friends list. Well, for instance, this one. My ranking is even in this one. If we take one of these here... Nope. Maybe this one? Nope. There we go. Right. And yet, there's several people on my friends list that have completed these events. So I know they've retweaked a lot of these events. These driving school ones. Because a lot of my friends don't show up anymore. Or even my times don't show up anymore despite having completed them. So, there's a lot of changes going on. To a certain extent, it feels like they may have released a game. They had a schedule. They released it early. But they at least made sure most of it was pretty polished up. But this is the next set of single-player events, right? Knock over cones, 1 laps, overtaking, top speed runs, all sorts of stuff. But these were kind of the mission events that GT6 sort of had. Except these are more typical races than other more fun things, I suppose. And then the circuit experience, I'll actually do one of these real quick too. I really like this. I talked a lot about in my GT5 and GT6 seasonal event videos. Every time I talked about Nürburgring and saying the best thing you can do to make the event easier is to learn it. Well, guess what? You get to learn each little sector one by one with different time goals and stuff. And so once you get gold in all of these and you're getting comfortable, guess what? Your last challenge is to string it together. So it's really cool. So if I look at, say, Kyoto Driving Park, we'll try this one. You can see that I did do a video yesterday on this track after I got nailed by all the music copyright stuff. Yeah, this is the track I'm the least familiar with. It'll be a bit difficult for me to play at the same time. I don't get to hear audio. I don't get to hear what the car is doing necessarily, but it is what it is. I should still get gold, but I'm probably not going to get a particularly amazing time. Yeah, it's a nice tool. Yeah, oh God, come on. Okay. It's a nice tool that allows you to learn tracks in a practical way, I find. They don't necessarily hold your hand, but they allow you to replay the same sector over and over and over. They have a good idea. They have baseline times as well as the goal time to help show you, whether or not you're doing good or not. Oh shit. In my case here, it's kind of awful, but at least we got the bronze, so give it another go. I was not expecting that corner to be so aggressive there. But that's what's nice about this. It really is a way for me and for other people out there to kind of break down the track and track sectors where they tend to have a bit of a difficulty. It's slightly unfortunate that they don't do it with more cars, but at the same time, it's still better than nothing. 28.6, that's pretty acceptable. So you can see second time around, now that I know what to allow it as, that ended up working out pretty good. I like this little touch, just having the instant replay, like just immediately playing out for what you just did. So occasionally I'll see some neat stuff in some of these events where near the end I did something, or there's a moment where I've done something kind of interesting, and I like being able to just kind of sit back and immediately see it. And there's no replay button. It just throws you the replay instantly, which is a neat little touch. So yeah, as you play, you see I get the standard currency, I get the mile exchange, which is just the yellow stuff, which is another currency. There are daily workouts, basically drive a certain amount in a day and you get a car, which is kind of cool. Mileage exchange allows you to, some hot items they put up here, exclusive cars, different wheels for all the customization, different decals for the customization, helmets and poses. So these are all things that you use in your profile. The decals, there's some pretty good car customization in this game. Finally, people who've let's go to Discover. People who have played Forza will recognize a lot of the tools and styles, and the idea of just putting a lot of shapes together to try and make some patterns. But yeah, interesting pictures that people make. Yeah, we've got some pretty realistic looking stuff that people like. So this is the photoscapes mode. There's a lot of areas in this game. That's probably not a good idea to hit preview, seeing as my internet is particularly slow right now. But other pictures like this, yeah, really cool looks, and just a lot of just really neat stuff that people have been putting out there. So the neat part is a lot of these backgrounds, like these are real backgrounds, these are real photos, but the cars are in-game models. So for instance, this one, all three of those cars in the picture are all in-game cars. You can see the livery that they've applied to it, like some super cool work in this game. Just take a look at the popular stuff. Again, people put some fantastic work in these cars. Is there another one? Just, damn. So that's the photos. Race photos. Race photos as in presumably actual multiplayer. Interesting. If we look at decals, If you needed some decals, again, if you've played Forza, you've seen these kinds of things, right? So it's really cool to see that you can just download them. You can download all the that's a pretty good one. You can download all the you know, popular logos and whatever that you need to do that you'd like to see. The other cool part is they actually allow you to upload SVGs, so you can design some stuff on the PC and upload that and have it all be correct. Here, like here's all the correct liveries that you'd ever want, right? So the classic Subaru World Rally Team, John Player Special from Lotus. It's not an Aston Martin, but I think it's quite fitting anyways. Martini Porsche, the Hoonigan Fiesta. Is it a Fiesta or a Focus? Pretty sure it's a Fiesta. It might be a Focus, now that I think of it. The reason I'm saying it's a Fiesta is because that's what they race in the WRC now. Yeah, all the correct liveries that you'd expect, at least in the most popular. If you look at the latest, again, some really cool stuff in here. So yeah, that's a huge plus. Like they've done a lot of really good things with this game. The R car liveries are pretty cool. The old R car livery. Yeah, that's not bad on a KTM. What else is there? Oh yeah, look at the helmets is real quick while we're here. Look at the most popular. Same deal here. You'll recognize some of these if you watch F1. A lot of these will be pretty recognizable. What about the latest? Just different designs, really. And suit livery, same deal. Not as much customization going on with these, but you know, still enough for them to be very recognizable. Especially if you're trying to replicate, you know, certain drivers, you know, certain styles of race suits. Yeah, let's do a quick GT League race. I'm trying to think what else. Like, on one hand, they've done a lot of just really nice stuff. You know, a lot of neat things that would be great if this was GT7, right? The delivery stuff, the whole community aspect, like all of that is really cool. But on the other hand, they've ditched all the standard cars. They've even ditched all the premium cars. They really went out there and just redid all of the cars from scratch to all be equally high quality, and that's a good thing. I'm happy that they've done that. It's fortunate that there's not many cars, but on the flip side, they've added 5 or 10 cars already. I'm leaning towards 10. I believe there's been 2 updates now with like 5+ cars in them, and they're just free. They're part of the update. So that's kind of why I want to go back to that, or I'm leaning towards that fact that maybe this game was released. No, in fact, I'm ready to say that they released it a bit earlier than they wanted, but they made sure that they let's make this a bit fair, shall we? Bring all these up to 100%. Yeah, I think they might have released it a little bit early, but they made sure that what was there was as polished as they could make it. Because at launch, yeah, despite being a little pretty lean on the content, it was still a good game. You know, I picked it up on launch day. Enjoyed playing through some of the licenses and things like that. I even enjoyed the beta before the game actually came out. But at the end of the day, I didn't play it a whole lot because there's not a whole lot to do. So it wasn't pulling me in the same way that the other GTs did. Just because there isn't that sense of progression. Right? You're not buying parts. You're not unlocking stuff necessarily. You're just going through, completing events, getting cars after you beat all sorts of events, or at least most of the other events you're getting cars off of them. And yeah, that's about it. You know, since I'm not spending a lot of time doing multiplayer or customizing cars or stuff like that, there's not a whole lot attracting me to it. But at the same time, I like to pop in here once or twice a week and just spend maybe an hour just racing, because graphically this game looks great. Control-wise, the controller feels really, really good. I'm playing with a controller, my G25 steering wheel. It might be compatible with the PS4. I don't think it is. Oh boy, this is bad. Let's go ahead and retry. Because there's a, well, it plays in third gear as well for a really long time. I should have at least been in second. So let's, yeah, want to restart. Make it a clean race at the very least. Yeah, the controller feels amazing. You know, Gran Turismo 6, Gran Turismo 5, they're pretty playable with the controller, but this game is kind of on a different level. And part of it comes from the fact that the DualShock 4 is a significantly better controller. Also, part of it is the game is also tuned for the way, for the control mapping I use. Because I don't believe GT5 and GT6 have like presets to use the L1 for brake, L2 or R2 for throttles, which is how I played. You know, those games used to do the analog stick thing. Whereas this game has like 2 or 3 presets, and they feel like they work pretty fine. Because the classic issue I always had with GT5 and GT6 was I could give you 0, 50, or 100% of both pedals. Couldn't really modulate anything in between those. But in here, I definitely find myself modulating a lot more, a lot easier, a lot better. And, yeah, on a technical level. Ah, shoot, did I just... I guess we're not going to be perfectly clean. I just did the same thing again. Oh well. Yeah, on a technical level, this game nails everything. Like, there are spots that you'll look at, especially on, like on the edges of the track, especially. Oh jeez, we all overshot this too. If you look on trackside in detail, you'll notice that there's some imperfections here and there. But for the most part, what you're looking at most of the time when you're racing, all that stuff looks great. Like, the car models look phenomenal, the interior of the cars look great. Sound, lighting, shadows, especially certain times of day, like early morning or just at dusk. Those times of days are really nice because you get a lot of contrast going on. Just nice coloring and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a real art to the look of this game. You know, something that, despite Forza technically potentially being better, running on PC, I run it at I have a 165 Hz monitor. It's Quad HD as well, so I can run the game at native revs maxed out on my TI. Despite on a technical level being able to render everything better, this game just looks so much more natural. There's a lot of attention to detail. I'm not saying Forza lacks, but it just doesn't blend together as nicely as Gran Turismo does. And that's something worth mentioning. Yeah, it's unfortunate you guys only get to see this at 720p, not necessarily high good encoding settings. I'm playing on a normal PS4 as well, not a Pro. Basically a launch unit, so not even a real PS4. Man, wish I had audio because I would hear the fact that I'm liking the engine. Not getting off the line there. Yeah, that's... Oh, 25 minutes in. Oh yeah, pretty close to that half hour I mentioned there. That's a lot of the stuff I can think about with GT Sport. In the end, it's a phenomenal game. It's super enjoyable. I really like it. And like I said, I do enjoy just spending that little half hour to an hour, maybe once or twice a week, just popping in, doing a couple events, and that's been great fun. You know, definitely wish I had a steering wheel so I could just feel the improvements there, because the controller itself, like all the updates they've done there, playing this with the controller just feels so much better. And while yeah, some of it is down to the DualShock 4, I can tell you a lot of it is also down to just this being a better game. You know, all the physics and stuff, the simulation aspects are so much better. The tires feel really good now, especially on the back fronts. Yeah, I wish I had a steering wheel. I almost bought one too. That's the worst part. I almost bought one, but decided to hold off of that for both of these new wheels, Thrustmaster and Fan Attack. I know they're out there, which they've not really made their way to Canada yet. They are available, they're very pricey because not a lot of them, they're still pretty new. But I don't know if the Fan Attack one's actually out yet. Either way, I'd have to look. But yeah, no, not again. Pretty bad. Oh! Almost cut him off. Yeah, I think that's the only thing I'm missing now, is to see how they've done with these new wheels. Because, oh jeez, that was really bad. I should have not. I should have been able to see that one coming, but yeah, the reason I talk about the steering wheels is as good as the G25 was, and as good as a lot of the PC games were for that wheel. Again, Gran Turismo just had that extra little attention to detail with those wheels, where you could feel just that little bit more. It felt a lot more connected. A bit more connected than some of the better PC games out there. Some of the better PC sims, despite them also... well, yeah, I guess at the time they were using Logitech wheels. Maybe not as the base, but definitely one of the wheels they tested extensively with. And you know, the fact that GT just felt that little bit much better. You know, you just plug it in and away you went. Yeah, I think that's about it. You know, despite not necessarily being... Oh hey, I've unlocked stuff in the arcade. Which, by the way, not all the missions are available right off the bat, right? You gotta go through driving school, level up a bit. So some of the stuff is slightly gated at the beginning, but it takes no time to actually go through and unlock most of that stuff. But yeah, if we just take a quick peek at the multiplayer here. Okay. Let's see. I was gonna say this game is pretty active. You can see 5-7 people. There's definitely a good amount of players playing. Just want to see if I can filter. Is there a way I can sort? Shame I can't sort. Yeah, there's multiple pages. Like, there's definitely a lot of people playing. That's not a problem. You know, as this is what, third page here. Every one of these pages has nearly full ones, a lot of half full ones. So finding a game is not a problem. There's a lot of people playing. Again, the escape stuff here. each of these areas has multiple sub areas. So if you want to do your picture stuff, I didn't think it was gonna take a while to load. Oh no, it didn't take too long. So if we take that that car, very easy to place it. You can put multiple cars. Like there's a lot of things you can do. It's yeah. I think at the end of the day, you know, my conclusion really for this game is it's slightly frustrating because on one hand, all the improvements and all the stuff that they've put in, it's a really, really well done game. You know, it's phenomenal. The racing, the events, everything about it just feels great. You know, it's really fun to play in. But on the flip side, it does feel like they had to make it GT Sport because they didn't have the time to do everything they wanted. And at the flip side, also, you know, with the whole FIA partnership, you can see that they really focused on the racing stuff because you have very little in terms of regular cars. You have a lot of, you know, performance cars, and then it's all racing cars, which it's not bad. It's just, yeah, it's not a Gran Turismo 7. Thankfully, they didn't admit that. But I'm hoping that they do follow through with a proper GT7. You know, as they continue to scam more cars and build them in this new system that they say is pretty future-proof. I'm hoping so we don't have to go through this whole thing and, you know, by PS5 or PS6 or whatever, where they have to drop everything and start from scratch again. Or have this standard premium car crap, because it was nice in a way, because a lot of cars, you know, that's the only way they could have gotten a lot of cars in, but at the same time, it was not a particularly good system. And just looking at the cars here, you can really see that, yeah, we kind of got a couple regular cars, but the focus is absolutely on the racing stuff. And if they have the FIA partnership, I'm sure there was no way for them to delay it necessarily, so I do respect the direction they've gone in, but I really do hope that they come back with a normal game as well. You know, the idea of just, or if anything, they almost have to throw in a proper career mode now with all of this, because they have a lot of the systems in place on the multiplayer side. Maybe they do something similar for single player in GT7, which would be super cool. But there you have it. Starting to slightly lose my voice here, so take a quick sip and we'll end it. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. It's a good game. GT7 is going to be really interesting once that does come around. But at least for now, I might have to start playing some multiplayer eventually. You know, starting to get into some of these things that they've been doing, because it's still a cool system, despite my crappy internet. It actually did play reasonably well, and I do feel like I'm missing out a bit on the point of this game. On the flip side, even the offline stuff that I'm playing is still quite enjoyable. So, you know, it's up to you guys. If you're like me, you're really into the single player stuff, might not be the best game, but at the same time, if you really, really do like racing games, you might still have some fun with this. So it depends what you're looking for at the end of the day. But for you guys who are out there playing multiplayer stuff, you've probably already got this. So I'm hoping you guys have been enjoying it. And yeah, we'll end it here. Hopefully this video passes without any of the music bullshit and stuff. Hopefully the audio sounds fine. Even though I've been using this sort of setup a couple of times now, this is the first time I'm gonna use it for real, for proper real. So the other video turned out okay. Hopefully this one turns out quite a bit better. And with that said, this is Mike here, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.